Toronto City Council finally approves multiplexes all across Toronto. It's been inked last week by the city and it's official. How is this going to impact the real estate market? Are things going to be affordable again? Is this the solution to our housing crisis? Stay tuned as I break this all down for you on this week's episode of Prime Properties TV. Now, if you're looking for some help on how to navigate this real estate market, whether you're buying, selling, or investing, you can book a call with me using the link that's right here. It's www.chatwithzen.com. Simply click on the date and a time that works best for you. And then when you see the prop, fill in your name, email, mobile phone number, and the question you have for me, and then we'll chat then. Good day, Toronto. Welcome to another episode of Prime Properties TV. My name is Zhen, and I run and operate a RE/MAX in the Greater Toronto Area, on top of making awesome educational real estate content just like this one for you. And if you like the content we're putting out there right now, make sure you spread the knowledge by smashing the like button and subscribing to the Prime Pro channel, because it helps me put the information out there so people understand what's going on in the real estate market. So the first article we'll be reviewing is Toronto City Council approves multiplexes to address growing housing crisis. Is this the magical solution that's going to fix and make things affordable? No. Is this a step in the right direction? Absolutely. Is this going to benefit people who own land in Toronto in the short term? 100%. And is it going to be worthwhile? And can we create more missing middle homes, kind of like not detaches or not high rises in the near term, long term future? Yeah, absolutely. Right. So I think it's a step in the right direction, but it's not going to fix everything. It's just nice to actually see this because Vancouver's had it, and I think New Zealand has had it for a little bit, and it's made some differences, but it's not the solution that everyone thinks it's going to be, right? So the part I kind of highlighted here is that it allows you to legalize 2, 3, and 4 unit multiplexes, which had previously not been allowed in parts of the city because of restricting bylaws. So for anyone who doesn't understand, there's a term called the yellow belt, right? Because you got the green belt, which is actually like forest and stuff that wraps around the golden horseshoe. But the yellow belt is basically kind of density and zoning that doesn't allow for these kind of multiplex units. So if you look in here, this is the Toronto map, and anything that's highlighted yellow is deemed for single family areas only. So if you kind of ever see that map, and I'll try to put it over here, of like Toronto skyline, and it's just along Yonge and University, tons of towers, but everything else is kind of flat. That's exactly what this is. So you can kind of see basically along here, you're fine, right, for Yonge, but anything outside of that is just all single family residence. So in Toronto, they want to clear out this yellow belt over here so they're allowed to build multiplexes there, right? Because right now, anything that's yellow is just for detached and semi-detaches only. So allowing these 2-plex, 3-plex, 4-plex to kind of go on is very nice. The problem with a lot of this is people are objecting because it's going to change the character of the neighborhood. But when you have so many people coming in, you can't have kind of people squatting on real estate and keeping it empty and actually not putting it to the highest and best use, right? So this is why I think it's a good idea that finally got approved, right? Now, what they're saying here is this multiplex a panacea? Of course it's not, and I agree with him. This is not a silver bullet, but it's a start of a many, many thousand point of innovation. So let me explain to you why I think this is great and why it doesn't, just from like a inside baseball kind of perspective, like insider information that you may not understand. So for anyone to actually build like a multiplex, right, they're going to need to own that piece of land. So anyone who owns a piece of land right now, your land value just went up over the week. Just like that, because now you have a new type of highest and best use. Kind of like years ago when someone was able to just build a laneway suite for like 2-3 years, that ability to build a laneway suite, that value of the land just went up. Now everything in Toronto has went up because you're allowed to up to 4-plex. The problem with that is unless you own the land as like a small time developer, call it small cap, right? You're not really going to make any money by going in there and buying that piece of land, which is already expensive and it just went up in price. And then you're going to convert that existing house into, call it a 4-plex, and then rent it out. So in every area, it's going to be different because you need the rents that you can able to charge for this new type of product to justify the money you put in. So just a really loose example, let's say you buy a house for $1 million and you have to spend $1 million, call it, to turn into a 4-plex. So for you to justify that, your money, your capital has to buy that land for $1 million, right? Call it 200 grand for down payment, and then $1 million in construction. And you need to be able to refinance and take that money out in such a way that the debt on that is still lower than the rent of the 4 units you're going to get. For it actually makes sense, because if you don't make money or the rents don't cover the debt at the end of it and you're able to kind of refinance and pull some money out, kind of like a really, really big BRRRR project, so buy, renovate, rent and repeat, right? If you can't get your money back out or make it profitable, why would anyone want to do it? So the kind of crux in all of this is that if the land goes up in value so much, can you actually make these things pencil? Like these pro formas, are they actually going to work? The construction costs are still very, very high right now. Interest rates are still very, very high. So these three pillars are making it difficult. So that's why depending on the area and depending on your expertise, it may or may not work, and kind of like how much rent you're able to charge at the end of the day. So that's why this is not kind of like a magical elixir for everything and solving everything, because if the people can't make money on it, why would they ever want to do it? It's almost just kind of like doing it for charitable purposes. And again, nothing against being charitable. It's just that most people in real estate are out for profit. Like with most businesses, out for profit. If you can't make profit and provide accommodation to a lot of Torontonians, why would you do it and lose money, right? You're just basically subsidizing someone else's missing middle home. So that's kind of why I'm saying, yes, this is a very great thing. In short term, landowners are going to benefit a lot from this, but at the same time, the rents have to kind of make sense, the numbers have to pencil, and all of this has to move along. And now here's a little bit more even inside baseball, which is kind of ironic. When you convert a 1-unit home into, say, a 4-unit, one of the things that they have in kind of this past legislation is that the development charges, which make up like 20-30% of the total cost, are going to be totally waived, which is perfect, because with laneway homes, as long as you don't cut that home in the back of the laneway in half, your development charges are actually deferred for a very long time where you don't have to pay it. So the city has put something like that in place, which is fantastic. And they also kind of expanded the FSI, which is the floor spacing index. Not going to get nerdy into that, but a lot of this helps with kind of getting the numbers to work, right? Kind of increasing the height, how much you can build on it. But the weird and challenging thing I find that is when I look at this and see if it makes sense for a lot of our investors, I look at one of the programs from CMHC called MLI Select, right? So a lot of people are using this for apartment buildings or anything that's over 5 units. So it has to be a 5-plex or greater. And the reason why this is important is because it allows you to amortize for 50 years. And the rates right now are very low. So like they're in the low 4s. So it's actually better than some of the mortgage rates. And then on top of that, it lets you have a loan to value of 95%, meaning in that, call it $1 million land plus $1 million construction multiplex that you're able to build. You only have to leave $100,000 in there and you can pull the money back out, recycle in the BRRRR method, and then go do another project and create more missing middle homes. But the problem with all of this is that for this MLI Select project to work, you need to be 5 units or higher. And in the Toronto upzoning, it allows you 4 units or higher. So yeah, you could put a garden suite or a laneway in the back, but this triggers the development charges because now you're over 5 units. So to make a lot of these numbers pencil and make them work, you really should have been gone up to 5 units. So it allows people to use the MLI Select program because now it allows you to go from like 30-year amortization up to 50-year amortization, which makes a really big deal. And you can leave less money in the deal so that you can create more housing for the missing middle. But because it's kind of right at that gap where you can go up to 4 units without paying development charges, which is a lot of money, again, taxes for the city, it prevents a lot of things from penciling and making viable. But if you were to go to 5 units and you can use the MLS Select, the cost and the debt on that is much cheaper and stretched over longer periods, and you can take more money back out. But the problem is that once you go into this little chunk here, you're now paying development charges, which is going to be like 6 figures plus. So there's that little gap that should have had a Venn diagram that allows people to have these two things to work if they kind of really talked about it, you know, municipal level and federal level. But again, this is not to like poo-poo on this. It's still a step in the right direction, but it's not the magic elixir that I've been saying that it's not going to solve everything. But if you can find that magic area or you own the land and you're able to create housing, yeah, it's going to be wonderful and we can create more things. But is it going to solve the housing crisis? No, I do not think so. But step in the right direction either way. And the last thing I have kind of highlighted here is that the population of this ward is shrinking, and many who grew up in the ward, the Scarborough North, can no longer afford to buy homes where they grew up. And that's the unfortunate fact, because as Toronto has like almost doubled in size in the last 20 years and they continue to have more immigration, it's not going to be possible for you to have you to buy a home that you grew up in unless your parents bought something or you're taking over your parents' home. It's just not going to happen because everything is getting more and more expensive. And as more and more people come in, more and more money also comes in, and that a lot of these areas gentrified. So it's not going to be possible. And I think that dream just has to go away. Kind of just like the idea of, hey, everyone deserves a detached home in Toronto. It's gone. It's just not going to happen unless you're at like the top 5, top 10% of the income bracket for most of Toronto citizens, or you just have really rich parents that gift you money, or they own real estate. Those are the realistic only reasons I would be able to own a home. Again, it's very possible. It's just that it's not going to be affordable and doable for the average person. That's the unfortunate fact. Anyways, hope this gives you an idea of how this kind of fourplexing, massive upzoning across Toronto is going to affect the real estate market. Again, it really comes down to the numbers, but there are opportunities for kind of like the developers, like the smaller ones, to come in here and create some opportunities for themselves, because the big time builders aren't going to like look at these projects because then they're too small, right? So anyways, if you're looking for some help on how to navigate this real estate market with people who understand what's going on in the market like ourselves, you can book a call with me using the link that's right here. It's www.chatwithzen.com. Until next time, your move, your future. See ya. Now that I'm done watching this video, I think you should check out this video. And you know what? Why don't you check out this video too?